there is no honeymoon period for this government. Already I am back at my desk to continue our recovery plan.
And we have the details of the recovery measures in our program. There is also information on how to stay safe in the hurricane season. You're watching Jamaica Magazine and I am Adrian Atkinson. There's much more on the other side of this break.
An important message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. What to do if you think you have been exposed or are experiencing signs and symptoms of COVID-19. Immediately call 888-1-LOVE. That's 888-663-5683. In addition, you should stay at home. Don't go to work, school, or any public place. Do not use public transport, and avoid visitors to your home. You may need to do this for up to 14 days to reduce the spread of the infection. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, September 17. An Education COVID-19 Management Task Force has been created to provide greater clarity on the full rollout of school on October 5. It is being chaired by the Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Fable Williams. The e-COVID Task Force will arrive at a consensus on the reopening and management of schools amid the COVID-19 pandemic. The e-COVID Task Force will comprise representatives from the Jamaica Teachers Association, Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, the Joint Committee for Tertiary Education, and the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. It will also include the Ecumenical Education Committee, UWI Guild of Students, the National Council on Education, and the Jamaica Independent Schools Association, among others. Still on education, the ministry says it is now ready to roll out the Learning Management System, LMS, for all schools. Acting Chief Education Officer Dr. Kassan Troop says the online platform has been piloted in 20 schools and sensitization sessions conducted. She's encouraging students and other relevant stakeholders to become familiar with the Google Suite.
We have started the conversation with our principals already. We have demonstrated what is possible for them, and they're excited. So the ministry is working, we are listening, we are consulting, and we will never take any decision that will compromise your learning or your safety.
Dr. Troop was speaking at a recent virtual back-to-school student sensitization session. The Learning Management System will facilitate online teaching and learning and will be used to set and track assignments and performance. It will also allow schools to create, deliver, and manage lessons and other training materials. Dr. Troop says a number of institutions may go ahead and activate the platform this month to give students an opportunity to get familiar with it and for teachers to interact and build their classroom spaces. Jamaica received $2.1 billion in official development assistance, ODA, from International Development Partners, IDP. This is to advance the government's strategic objectives and priorities under the 2018-2021 Medium-Term Socio-Economic Policy Framework, MTF. The MTF is the implementation framework that facilitates stage-by-stage operationalization of the Long-Term National Development Plan Vision 2030 Jamaica. As indicated in the Planning Institute of Jamaica's PIOJ 2019 Economic and Social Survey, $273 million of the $2.1 billion have already been disbursed. The funding support comprised loans of $1.5 billion and grants amounting to $595 million. It aims to position the island to achieve developed country status and, in the process, make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. Both the Jamaica Employers Federation, JEF, and the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, JCC, have welcomed the slate of newly appointed senior and junior ministers. The stakeholders say they expect the ministers will serve the country well. President of the JCC, Lloyd Distant Jr., says the cabinet is well balanced and he is pleased to see that some of the relative newcomers have been given an opportunity to serve.
I believe that there are certainly positive signs of succession planning being contemplated. Certainly looking for this new cabinet to be even more effective and to bring more deliberate impact in the things that they're doing and the initiatives they choose to take up. I'm hopeful that the Prime Minister will provide some kind of his own performance scorecard in terms of the expectations, so those are the things to be delivered, and how we are tracking against delivery.
Meanwhile, JEF President David Wan says he welcomes the separation of the Agriculture Ministry. It was previously part of the Ministry of Industry and Commerce, headed by Minister Audley Shaw.
I think it was a good move. I think it was too complex for any one minister to handle all those. Yeah. And agriculture, in my opinion, is one of the untapped potential economic growth areas of Jamaica. But successive administrations have not been able to really harness agriculture as a driver of our economy. I think agriculture being by itself is a good move, so it can get focused.
Mr. Wan says he is anticipating an increased infusion of technology, greater investments, and heightened upskilling of farmers. Government is moving ahead with the creation of an Information and Communications Technology ICT Authority to tighten the gap between technology and doing business locally. Education Minister Favour Williams says this is necessary to facilitate a digital transformation and will allow for the development of ICT capacities and infrastructures across the public service. The ICT Authority will monitor electronic portals for businesses, tax portals, online trade windows, e-wallets or payment gateways, and cybersecurity infrastructure.
Technology is crucial to doing business. As such, we are strengthening the institutional infrastructure required to facilitate this digital transformation. We're looking at the creation of the ICT Authority.
Minister Williams was speaking recently at the rollout of Flow Foundation's Digital Education Entrepreneurship Program. And finally, Councillor for the Montego Bay North Division in St. James, Leroy Williams, is the new mayor of the second city. He was installed at a special sitting of the St. James Municipal Corporation at the Montego Bay Cultural Centre in Sam Sharp Square, Montego Bay, St. James on Sunday. Mr. Williams, who will also serve as chairman of the Municipal Corporation, replaces Homer Davis, who stepped down from the post after being elected as Member of Parliament for St. James Southern in the September 3 general election. Councillor Williams says he is humbled by the confidence placed in him by his colleagues to serve as head of the Municipal Corporation.
It is with a deep sense of honor and humility that I take on this role as mayor, and I do so cognizant of the awesome responsibility that I have just assumed today as mayor. Today, I give the commitment that I'm totally focused on the task of helping to push an agenda of development and prosperity for the people of St. James, and I will do so transparently, unbiased, and within the laws of the country and the rules and regulations of the Local Governance Act.
Councillor for the Montego Bay South Division, Richard Vernon, was elected to serve as Deputy Mayor. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
How would you want to be treated if you were diagnosed with COVID-19? Not like this.
Them will talk how I'm wicked and fit dead, and they behave like I am the one that created the virus. All my friends as well that were positive, them going through even worse than what I'm going through. Persons are calling police on them as well.
Do not allow your fear of COVID-19 to rob you of your humanity. There is no need to shun or victimize persons with the disease or those on the front line.
To mistreat persons that do have it, it's not a good feeling. We don't cause this on ourselves.
We really need to cut the hate and work together as a country, as communities, to overcome.
Let us be understanding with those affected and support each other. Be kind. End the stigma.
Upon taking the oath of office, Prime Minister Andrew Holness made very clear the work to be done by his administration. Chief among them, economic growth, business development, and job creation.
There is no honeymoon period for this government. Already I am back at my desk to continue our recovery plan.
And so, following his swearing-in as Prime Minister on September 7, the Most Honourable Andrew Holness laid out a comprehensive list of targets to be achieved by his administration. Topping the agenda is the economic recovery of the country following the fallout caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Part of the plan is to provide over $14 billion in support to businesses, tourism interests, and farmers over the next 3 years.
We will provide $500 million in grants for micro and small businesses that are community-based. We will deploy $1.2 billion in tourism grants to small and medium-sized operators in the tourism sector through the Exim Bank. We will provide $3 billion in agri-care support for our farmers and fisherfolk over the next 3 years. We will deploy $10 billion in loan guarantees to support micro, small, and medium-sized businesses. This will help our economy recover stronger.
The Prime Minister says government will continue to maintain and strengthen macroeconomic stability, as well as build and strengthen institutions that safeguard the sustainability of government finances. It will also maintain low and stable inflation, adequate foreign exchange reserve, and stability in the financial sector.
We will improve the business climate and invest to improve competitiveness by reforming customs, developing a national business portal, and increase technology and business process engineering for greater efficiency in the public sector.
Adding to the conversation, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the economic recovery framework also includes the operational independence of the Bank of Jamaica.
That legislation came through a joint select committee. One of the first orders of business is going to be to table that legislation and to have it go through its stages in Parliament. We're going to bring a bill to put in place a fiscal council to strengthen Jamaica's fiscal responsibility framework.
As part of measures to facilitate business and improve competitiveness, government will reform customs, develop the national business portal, and establish business incubators.
We will diversify our economy to increase resilience, promote innovation, support youth entrepreneurs, and explore opportunities within the green and blue economies. We will support the development of coding, animation, film, logistics and fulfillment, among other sectors, to create 150,000 new jobs.
Prime Minister Holness says he will continue to facilitate wealth building through the listing of state-owned enterprises on the Jamaica Stock Exchange.
Giving Jamaicans the opportunity to own a piece of these assets. This will create wealth, real wealth in Jamaica, and help our economy recover stronger.
Mobilizing foreign and domestic investment is another path being charted by the Andrew Holness-led administration. This is to improve the delivery of public services and promote innovation while generating employment.
We will launch and complete public-private partnerships for water treatment and storage, sewage, garbage collection, and infrastructure development.
Mr. Holness also discloses that a plan had been developed to bring approximately 100 million gallons of water per day into the system. This involves pumped hydro storage and desalination and will cover Clarendon, Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine and parts of St. Thomas.
This will solve once and for all our water shortage problems in our utility areas on the southern side of the island and increase the resilience of our country.
Regarding the health sector and its response to COVID-19, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says government will improve capacity and infrastructure. This will include the strengthening of laboratory and surveillance systems while focusing on community health support and healthy lifestyle promotion.
We will undertake major infrastructure upgrades to the following hospitals: the Spanish Town Hospital, the St. Anne's Bay Hospital, the May Pen Hospital, the Bustamante Children's Hospital, and the UWI Hospital. Together, with the completion of the Cornwall Regional Hospital and the Western Children's Hospital, simultaneously, we will also retrofit 110 health facilities across the island with technology that will provide high-speed internet capacity and modern ICT infrastructure to assist in the delivery of healthcare.
Moving on to housing, the government has committed to building 70,000 housing starts over the next 5 years. Of that number, 30% or 21,000 will be reserved for police officers, nurses, teachers and other civil servants. Another 10,000 will be allocated to persons within the ages of 18 to 35 years at 100% financing. The Prime Minister says this is among several measures to ensure more Jamaicans have access to land, housing and other critical infrastructure.
Each year, the NHD will invest a minimum of $1 billion in social housing to include construction and repairs for those who are not able to purchase a home. We have already started to improve the system of the issuance of titles, and we have targeted to issue over 30,000 land titles to Jamaicans who have legitimate claims to land that they have occupied and cultivated for generations. We will strengthen the social safety net and increase social equity in the society.
So what will this involve? A comprehensive reform of statutory deductions to have greater inclusion of certain categories of workers, especially for contributions to the National Insurance Scheme and the National Housing Trust. There are also plans to support low-income families with access to daycare service.
Our social security reforms will aim to have universal participation in the National Insurance Scheme, and along with other reforms will pave the way for unemployment insurance to become a reality in Jamaica.
On the matter of education, priority attention will be given to early childhood and parenting support. Broadband connectivity in schools will be improved, and the Tablets in Schools initiative is to be expanded, starting with over 100,000 tablets for teachers and students. 6 new science, technology, engineering and math STEM high schools are to be established, as well as 1 performing arts-focused high school. The government will also provide greater access to financing for tertiary education by improving terms offered by the Students' Loan Bureau.
We are committed to closing the digital divide and to the creation of a digital society.
This will be achieved through free Wi-Fi service at all town centres, access to broadband and Wi-Fi at community access points, and online access to all major public sector services. There is also to be the implementation of a national identification system and the build-out of a national broadband network infrastructure.
The network will be appropriately sized to manage Jamaica's current and expected internet and ICT demand. This will be the new information highway, which will connect and give access to fast and reliable internet to all Jamaicans anywhere in Jamaica.
Prime Minister Holness also pledges that his administration will work to ensure that all Jamaicans have access to financial services.
We will pursue the use of low-tiered Know Your Customer bank accounts to increase the number of Jamaicans who have access to functional bank accounts.
To that end, government will introduce a national digital payment platform to allow for seamless and efficient payment with greater financial inclusion and security.
This will ensure that all Jamaicans have an opportunity to enter into the formal space, the formal economy.
A critical part of the mandate going forward is integrity and public trust. The assurance was given by Prime Minister Andrew Holness that this new administration will operate with the highest level of integrity. Mr. Holness vouches to be tough on corruption. He says every elected representative and appointed minister will participate in sensitization and public education programs to be established by the Integrity Commission.
This to increase their awareness and understanding of the anti-corruption legislative framework, not just to sensitize them alone, but to ensure that they are seized of their duties under the law and understand that this will be an accountable government.
Mr. Holness pledges to complete the legislative framework of the Integrity Commission and the major organised crime and anti-corruption agency MOCA early in this term. These actions, he says, will expand their investigative and prosecutorial resources and strengthen the country's anti-corruption structure.
Jamaica is on the right path. This government has been given a mandate to move with speed and alacrity in fulfilling the great destiny of this country. We will not squander it. We will use it wisely to build public trust, continue the partnerships for prosperity, to be inclusive and caring for the poor and vulnerable, to be prospecting and enterprising in fulfilling the dreams and ambitions of the youth, and make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and retire in paradise.
Applicants of the COVID-19 Allocation of Resources for Employees Care Program with invalid bank account information status have until Friday, September 18 to make the necessary changes. The Ministry of Finance says if changes are not made by the deadline, persons will receive their funds through alternate arrangements to be made by the WeCare team. Applicants who have not yet received funds are therefore being encouraged to visit wecare.gov.jm and select Track Application to see their status. The Finance Ministry is also advising that alternate arrangements are being made for persons who were not able to collect their funds at the remittance agency of their choice by the August 31 deadline. Details on this will be announced.
We are experiencing a very active 2020 Atlantic hurricane season, and the message from the authorities is to practice the safety measures shared.
Every month of the year, there has been in our history some incidents of flooding that has taken place in some aspect of the country. And that is something that we have to take note of. Apart from monitoring and giving the forecast, we are also responsible for warnings. And so there are some warnings that we want you to take special heed to if you consider yourself to be vulnerable in any situation. When we speak about a flash flood watch, it means that there is a feature, some kind of weather system that is going to produce enough rainfall that makes it possible for you to get flooding. So it means start to watch, because the water levels are going to be increasing and there is the possibility of the flooding. Now, if we start to see that in some area flooding has started to occur, or if we believe that the flooding has been so close to an area that it is going to happen in that area in a short space of time, we will escalate that flash flood watch and refer to it as a flash flood warning. So when we talk about a flash flood warning, it means not only that the flooding is possible, but the flooding either has already started to happen or is going to happen in a very short space of time because it is very close to that area. So it is important to know what the watch means as opposed to what the warning means. Usually with the warning, we will not only issue a warning, but we will also tell you what kind of actions are important or what you should not do. Like, do not go through flooded waterways because it could pose a risk to your life and to your property. Also, if you live in low-lying or flood-prone areas, if it is an area that is regularly experiencing flooding, a flash flood warning for your area would mean that now is the time to move to higher ground because the flooding has already started or is going to happen very shortly. It is also important for us to know where we live, because sometimes in our messages we might not refer to the actual town, but we will tell you what part of the country the flood watch or the flood warning is relevant to. So if we talk about central parishes, we are referring to Clarendon. We're also talking about Manchester. We're also talking about St. Anne. These are central parishes. So you have to be knowledgeable of where you live so that you know whether the message actually applies to you. The messages that we issue for hurricanes and tropical storms are watches and warnings as well, like the flooding. But in this case, for a tropical storm or a hurricane, when we issue a watch, it means the conditions that are associated with the storm or the hurricane are possible within a certain time frame. If you hear tropical storm or hurricane watch, you could get the impact of that system within a day and a half, 36 hours. If we mention that this is a tropical storm or a hurricane warning, it means that you only have 1 day before that thing can affect you. So we are moving to how quickly you need to make sure that you are prepared by naming it a watch or a warning. So the watch is the first level of the alert that there is something that is likely to affect you. But when we move to a warning, it means now is the time to batten down because you most likely are going to experience that storm or hurricane. We might have a tropical wave, which is the least of them, in that it can still cause a lot of rain and it can still cause flooding and devastation, but it will not have very strong winds associated with it. But then there is the tropical depression that is a little stronger because now you have winds that are moving with it, gusty winds, and it also has a lot of rainfall. Then you have tropical storms, which is a more severe kind of tropical depression because the winds are even stronger. And then if it gets even stronger, it could become a hurricane. So it's important that you have your radio and that your radio is battery controlled, not dependent on electricity, so that you can hear the warning messages that come from the meteorological service. Also bear in mind that if you dial 116, you will be able to hear the latest message coming out of the meteorological service related to any warnings. We cannot stop paying attention. We cannot let down our guard. You have to prepare yourself and stay prepared until we are out of the threat.
Jamaica Social Investment Fund, JSIF, celebrating over 20 years of investment in community development. JSIF has forged relationships with international funding partners as well as private and public sector entities. Let us continue to invest to reduce vulnerabilities. Let us build our social capital and resilient infrastructures to ensure full participation in Vision 2030. JSIF, investing for community development. This is where our journey ends, but only for today. Do join us again tomorrow when we'll bring you another informative program. In the meantime, stay connected via our website, gis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at gis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production crew, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.